Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been on a lot of our minds: sports media bias. Ever wondered why certain athletes get showered with praise while others seem to get picked apart in every piece of coverage? In this video, we're going to explore how media outlets favor certain players and teams while they pile on the criticism for others. We'll uncover the hidden agendas, personal biases, and sometimes the commercial interests that shape the stories we see on our screens. So, let's get into it. All right, so what exactly do we mean when we talk about media bias in sports? Simply put, it's when journalists and media outlets allow their personal feelings and opinions to influence how they cover athletes and teams. This can manifest in a few different ways, like favoritism towards certain stars, sensationalizing events, or constructing a narrative that may not fully match reality. Imagine a player who always seems to be in the spotlight for their incredible performances, while another, who might also be talented, gets overshadowed by constant critiques. Media bias not only affects how we see our favorite teams and athletes, but also shapes the overall culture of sports engagement. It's important because it impacts public perception and fan loyalty, which can ultimately affect an athlete's career. Now let's take a step back for some historical context. Media bias in sports isn't new. It's been around for decades, evolving with the times. Back in the day, a star player could be celebrated purely based on their stats. But as the media landscape expanded thanks to television, radio, and now the internet, reporting became much more narrative-driven. For instance, think about how legends like Michael Jordan or Muhammad Ali were portrayed. They often enjoyed a narrative that painted them as heroes. On the flip side, consider some athletes like Barry Bonds, who faced intense scrutiny despite his achievements. Stories about controversies often overshadow success. It's fascinating to see how historical contexts have shaped current biases and illustrate just how powerful the media is in defining legacies. So what drives this media bias? There are a few key factors. First up, we have the personal bias of journalists. Every journalist comes with their own backgrounds and experiences, which can influence how they perceive and write about athletes. Some may favor flashy players with big personalities, while others might lean towards the humble, hardworking types. Next, we have commercial interests. Let's face it, sports are big business. Advertisers and sponsors often have their favorite athletes, which can influence how they're portrayed in the media. When an athlete is backed by a big brand, they're more likely to receive favorable coverage. Then there's audience demand. Fans have specific athletes they cheer for, and media outlets often cater to these preferences to keep viewership up. Lastly, there's the way stories are framed. Sometimes, sensational headlines grab more attention, leading to skewed narratives that ignore the complete picture and create a divided public. Let's look at two examples to put things in perspective. On one hand, you have someone like LeBron James, who constantly receives praise for his performance and philanthropy. Media outlets often highlight his charitable work, shaping a positive narrative around him. On the flip side, there's someone like Russell Westbrook, who often finds himself on the receiving end of criticism, with narratives focusing on his flaws despite his skill on the court. These differences underscore how media bias can create vastly different public perceptions, even for athletes who are equally talented. Now, let's talk about social media, which has totally shaken things up in the world of sports narratives. Athletes now have direct access to their fans and can share their side of the story, bypassing traditional media filters. This shift means that a viral moment can change public narrative overnight. For example, when a player speaks out against unfair treatment, that story can spread quickly on platforms like Twitter or Instagram, influencing how they're perceived. So, social media is both a tool and a challenge, reshaping how bias plays out in sports. So there you have it. Media bias in sports isn't just about who plays well. It's about how, why, and who is telling the story. I encourage you all to think critically about the coverage you see. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, thanks for watching.